How much money will you really need to retire? This is the million-dollar question, sometimes quite literally. Did you know that 47% of retirees worry about outliving their money per the AARP? Whether you're planning to retire early or not, having the right number can make all the difference between financial freedom and constant worry. And the answer of how much you need isn't one size fits all, and yet it's the most critical question for anyone considering early retirement. Today, we're diving deep to uncover the factors you need to consider, the mistakes to avoid, and the strategies that can help you retire confidently without running out of money. By the end of this video, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of how to calculate your number and actionable steps to make early retirement a reality. Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm an early retiree at the age of 55. Let's get started. Retiring early is a dream for many, but it's not as simple as picking an age and quitting your job. To succeed, you need to answer a few key questions. How much will you spend each year in retirement? How long do you need your savings to last? What factors, like inflation, healthcare, and lifestyle, could throw your plan off course? First, let's talk about your spending in retirement. This is the foundation of your entire plan. How much do you think you'll need to live on each year? 40,000, 80,000, more. Here's the truth. The amount you'll need depends on the lifestyle you want, so you'll really need to think about that as part of your retirement planning. For instance, do you dream of traveling the world in retirement? Let's break expenses down into three categories. First, you have basic living expenses, which are things like housing, utilities, groceries, and transportation. Second, discretionary spending, vacations, hobbies, dining out, and entertainment. And then you have your unexpected costs. Those are medical bills, home repairs, or helping family members. A great way to start is by looking at your current spending over the last year or starting to track it if you haven't been. This will give you a baseline to figure out how much you need annually in retirement to maintain the same lifestyle if that's your goal. And tracking for at least a year will give a comprehensive understanding of your spending patterns. This duration allows you to account for periodic expenses and seasonal variations, providing a more accurate baseline for your retirement budget. Also, for discretionary spending, when you're figuring out how much you expect to spend annually, you may need to bump this up from what you spent in your working years. This is because you'll have more time than you did before, so you may travel more than you normally would, and that was certainly the case for me. Or because in retirement, you may want to pursue hobbies or passions that you didn't have time to explore in your working years. And for unexpected costs, this is why having an emergency fund is essential. For early retirees, it's wise to have an emergency fund that covers at least 1 to 2 years worth of living expenses. This reserve serves as a safety net for unexpected costs and help you avoid withdrawing from your investments during market downturns. Keep this fund in a liquid, easily accessible account like a high-yield savings account or a money market fund. It's a critical buffer that ensures your long-term retirement plan stays intact no matter what life throws at you. Once you understand your spending, the next critical step is ensuring your money lasts as long as you do. Here's something else that shocked me during my retirement planning. If you retire at 55 like I did, you might need to plan for 35 to 40 years of retirement depending upon your expected longevity. That's potentially longer than your working career. Ask yourself, what's the longest possible time my money could need to last? Then plan for that number. Trust me, running out of money at 75 is a nightmare scenario you want to avoid. Now let's talk about inflation. It's that sneaky wealthy roader that eats away at your buying power over time. Here's a practical example from my own life. When I started my IT career in 1996, the national average for a price of gas was $1.23. Now it's $3.06. That's a 149% increase. And here's a sobering fact. With just a 3% inflation rate, $50,000 today will only buy about $27,684 worth of goods in 20 years. Imagine the impact on your retirement if the cost of your daily expenses doubled or even tripled. This is why you can't just save a lump sum and forget about it. Your investments need to grow to outpace inflation. For most early retirees, this means keeping a portion of your portfolio in stocks or other growth-oriented investments. And don't forget, inflation impacts some expenses differently. For example, healthcare costs often rise faster than general inflation. This is a major expense for early retirees who aren't yet eligible for Medicare. Be sure to include these rising costs in your calculations. They can significantly impact your savings. All right, now for the moment you've been waiting for. Here's how to calculate your retirement number. It's a simple formula to get started with a caveat to it that I'll get to in just a little bit. Take your estimated annual spending and multiply it by 25 to get your target savings. This is based on the 4% withdrawal rule, which is a general guideline originating from the FIRE movement, which is Financial Independence Retire Early. It states that you can safely withdraw 4% of your savings each year, adjusted for inflation, without running out of money for 30 years. Here's a couple of simple examples of how it works. Let's talk about Jane. She plans to live on $40,000 per year. Using the 25 times annual expenses rule, her target savings is $1 million. She will receive $200,000 in Social Security benefits over her anticipated lifetime, reducing her savings goal for retirement to $800,000. Then there's John. He wants to travel the world and spend $80,000 annually. He owns rental properties valued at $500,000, which generate $20,000 in annual net rental income. This reduces the amount he needs his savings to cover to $60,000 per year. Using the 25 times expenses rule, John would need $1.5 million. He expects to receive $300,000 in Social Security benefits over his lifetime, which reduces savings goal to $1.2 million. These simple examples show how different lifestyles and income sources affect your savings needs. Also, flexibility is key. Jane could decide to increase her discretionary spending for a year, while John could sell a property to access more funds if needed. Now, here's the caveat. The 4% rule and the 25 times annual expenses rule both assume a 30-year retirement timeline. If you're planning to retire early, you might need to adopt a more conservative withdrawal rate, such as 3.5% or even lower, and save more, potentially 30 times to 35 times your annual expenses. This helps hedge against market downturns and helps to ensure you won't outlive your savings in a potentially long retirement. Also, the 4% rule and 25 times expenses rule should be treated as a general guideline or benchmark to evaluate if your assets are potentially large enough to support early retirement, because it doesn't account for the reality of what happens in life. For example, what if you have a large one-time expense that you want to help pay for your daughter's wedding? It also doesn't account for spending more in retirement during the years when you can be more active versus your spending decreasing as you get older when you're not as active. Or other situations such as the expenses associated with long-term care or assisted living. It's also based on historical averages and assumes steady growth, but sharp market downturns, especially early in retirement, can significantly impact your portfolio's sustainability. It also doesn't account for tax treatment of withdrawals from different accounts. For example, Roth versus traditional IRAs versus taxable brokerage accounts. It also doesn't account for any legacy goals you may have. You may have a certain amount of money that you would like to leave for your heirs after you pass away. So your retirement planning will need to really dig deeper than the 4% and 25 times annual expenses rules. To do that, I highly recommend using a comprehensive tool like Bolden.com. I've put a link to it in the description. Think of it as the TurboTax for retirement planning. I've used it myself for planning my early retirement and continue to use it in retirement. You can play around with it for free with the basic plan, but ultimately you'll want to get the Planner Plus, which is $120 per year after a 14-day trial, but it's worth every penny to be able to input your specific situation and run different scenarios and see your investment results so you can see where you stand and if and when early retirement may be an option for you. Whatever planning you do, at the end of the day, I recommend you consult with a financial advisor to talk about your unique needs, and they can validate the planning you did as well. Always best to get professional input to make sure you haven't missed something and to take a second look before you make such a big decision as to retire early. The other great thing when you meet with a professional is validation. I was over the moon when my financial advisor confirmed my planning and agreed I was set for retiring early. So, how much do you need to retire early? The answer depends on your expected spending, your expected lifespan, and how well you prepare for inflation and unexpected costs. To wrap up, here's an action plan. Calculate your annual spending or start tracking it if you haven't been. Second, account for potential changes in retirement expenses, for example, more discretionary spending. Third, add some buffer for healthcare, unexpected costs, or anticipated one-time large expenses. 4, multiply your total spending by 25 or 30 to 35 times for a long retirement. 5, adjust for other income sources and inflation. And 6, test your plan with different market scenarios and life situations like long-term care expenses. As mentioned previously, a comprehensive tool like bolden.com can really help with testing different scenarios and stress testing your plan and give you a projected probability of success under each scenario. Early retirement is a journey and it starts with great planning. Remember, your future self will thank you for the work you're doing today. Now it's your turn. What's your retirement number? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It really helps this little channel out more than you know. Until next time, this is Mike Upland. Take care and make the most of today.